From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017 meeting of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. We're going to begin today's meeting with our flag salute, and that is going to be led by the Mayor of Cal City, Jennifer Wood. And if you would all remain standing after the pledge for a moment of prayer, silence, or meditation, whichever you prefer.
Thank you very much. And as we do this, let's keep the members and the families of the Navy seamen that have been lost most recently in a shipping accident. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Mayor Wood. All right, if you'd like to follow along with our agenda today, they are located on the tables at the back of the chambers near the doors. And we're going to begin today with our consent agenda. All items listed with a CA above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item or items on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken on the consent agenda. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. So at this time, I will read the consent agenda items. Starting on page 2, item 1 and 4 and 7 are all on consent. On page 3, items 8 through 13, as well as 15 are on consent. On page 4, items 17 through 22 are on consent. And on page 5, items 25 through 29 are on consent. Are there any members of the audience that would like to make any comments on the consent agenda? Okay, I don't see any hands, and so I'll return to the board and ask if any board members would like to remove an item, or I would request a motion on consent.
Motion on consent.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. And now we will return to page 2 on our agenda. This will be item number 2 under resolutions and proclamations. This will proclaim September 2017 as Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month in Kern County, and Supervisor Maggard will make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I motion to approve the proclamation.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Good morning, colleagues. I stand before you this morning to help us proclaim September 2017 as Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month in Kern County. This marks the 29th time that we have celebrated our annual National Recovery Month. Recovery Month is intended to increase the awareness of the substance abuse malady, the problems, sometimes people speak of it as an epidemic that is running throughout our community, but not only here, but all across the country. And the idea is to highlight the important role that families play in supporting those who are trying to work their way through recovery. In the last year, 6,500 new enrollees enrolled in the program to try to overcome their addictions. And they service about 2,500 individuals per month. It is a vitally needed program. I'm joined by Bill Walker, our Director of Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. And Bill, I'd like to give you this proclamation. It says that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Kern, the State of California, has officially proclaimed September 2017 as Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month in Kern County, entered into our minutes by the signature of our Chairman, the Honorable Zach Scrivener, on this 22nd day of August 2017. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Thank you for persevering with us to try to make a difference in these people's lives, and I'd like to hear more of what's up.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard, Chairman, members of the board. Today really is a celebration, although we face huge problems when it comes to substance abuse. I'm going to be introducing Allison Burrows, who's newly been appointed our Deputy Director over Substance Abuse Services. And we'll go over a little bit about what's going to go on this next month. But as you've seen the papers and you see the opioid crisis and the different things, as you drive through our neighborhoods and you see the effects of methamphetamine addiction, you know that we have a war that we need to keep fighting, and a war that we intend to win for the people. I don't think anybody on the street that looks the way they do woke up and thought, you know, what I want to do is I want to get addicted to methamphetamine and be homeless on the street. And so we're looking forward to doing more and at least having a celebration for this next month. Allison.
Thank you very much. So the focus of National Recovery Month this September is to celebrate the journey with the theme, Join the Voices for Recovery, Strengthen Families and Communities. Recovery Month spreads the message that behavioral health is essential to one's overall wellness and that prevention works, treatment is effective, and people do really recover. There are many heartwarming recovery stories within the community, including that of Roxanne, who's in the audience today. Roxanne was referred to treatment due to issues stemming from her substance use. At first, she was reluctant to engage in treatment, but as she began using the new skills she learned, her confidence grew and she began making progress. Roxanne has now successfully completed treatment and has regained partial custody of her children. She's also completed peer employment training and is now a certified peer support specialist. Roxanne is hopeful that by sharing her knowledge and experience, she'll provide hope and support to others. Over the past year, there were over 6,500 new admissions for substance use disorder treatment in Kern County. Around 68% of those individuals in treatment demonstrated progress towards maintaining their recovery. These outcomes are made possible because of the strong evidence-based programming provided through our contract provider network. These contractors include Aegis, Clinica Sierra Vista, College Community Services, Hispanic Commission, STEPS, and many more. In addition to these treatment providers, our network includes other community-based organizations providing safe and supportive services for those in recovery. In the upcoming year, through a Medi-Cal waiver, our county will be expanding substance use disorder treatment. This is going to include additional residential treatment, expanded medication-assisted treatment, an expansion of adolescent treatment, and the addition of case management services. We'll also be developing recovery centers in Kern County, allowing a safe place for individuals to sober up off the streets and out of the emergency rooms. This will provide yet another opportunity to engage them in treatment. As we brace ourselves for the continued rise in opioid abuse in our community, through the Kern Stop Meth Now Coalition, we will be installing 10 medication drop boxes throughout Kern County. This program will reduce the number of unused prescription medications in the community. The program will reduce the number, In addition, we will be holding trainings on safe prescribing practices for opioids, and we're actively exploring new and innovative prevention and practices for opioid addiction. These initiatives are only made possible by our strong collaboration with partner agencies, such as the Department of Human Services, the Probation Department, the Public Health Department, and the Sheriff's Office, among others. This year, to celebrate Recovery Month, the Behavioral Health Department and our partner agencies will host the second annual Recovery Celebration and Resource Fair. The event is free and open to the public. This is a family event that will provide the opportunity to learn about community resources, to hear inspiring stories of recovery, and to celebrate the recovery journey. The event is on September 30th from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Mill Creek Park. On behalf of individuals in recovery, their families, and the local treatment provider community, I thank the board for this proclamation recognizing September as Recovery Month in Kern County. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it? Allison? Allison?
Thank you all very much. Thank you for your efforts. Next item on our agenda will be item number 3. This will proclaim September 2017 as National Suicide Prevention Month in Kern County, and Supervisor Gleason will make this presentation.
Motion on proclamation. Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Bill, thanks. Come on up. It's an honor to once again stand in front of you and proclaim September 2017 as National Suicide Prevention Month in Kern County, recognized by and entered in our official board minutes by the Honorable Zach Scrivener. Thank you very much. The total number of suicides in the United States in 2015 was 44,193. One person dies by suicide every 12 minutes. In this country. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for those 15 to 24 years old. In 2016, Kern County had 130 residents died by suicide, 130 in Kern County. 7 were under the age of 18. At 14 deaths by suicide per 100,000 population, the prevalence rate of suicide in Kern County is higher than that of the state of California at 10.3. It is also higher than that of the United States at 12.9. So let's see, we're 13.9, the total United States is 12.9, and the state of California is 10.3. So we're leading the country, or we're ahead of the country, 13.9. We acknowledge that no single suicide intervention act or effort will be sufficient or appropriate for all populations, and this year we will encourage initiatives based on the goals and activities in the National Strategy for Suicide Prevention. We will also participate and continue to implement the Zero Suicide, the National Alliance for Suicide Prevention, in our system of care to reach the goal of making suicide a never event. Therefore, it is recommended the board, which we just did pass September 2017 as National Suicide Prevention Month in Kern County, and I'll pass this over to Bill Walker, who will give us some words. Bill.
Thank you very much.
And this is yours. Thank you.
I've kind of gone from a moment of excitement to really a sad presentation. And so I'd like to slow it down and kind of go through a few things. I really appreciate the supervisor going through some of the statistics. And I'd like to elaborate on just the statistical impact a little bit more. 44,000 people in 2015 in the United States. What does that really mean? Well, I don't know about you, but I was watching the president talk about the Afghanistan conflict, the 2001 to 2017 conflict, in which we've lost approximately 4,000 or so troops. And I'm devastated by that loss. 2015, we lost 44,000 people to suicide, 11 times that in 1 year versus a conflict over 16 years. The reason why we're joined by our veteran services is because 22% of the suicides are veterans. If you do the math on that, that's about 9,000 to 10,000 veterans a year taking their own lives. And you know, we don't have any great work that we're doing together. We've been talking about it, but we really don't. And they're flanking our crisis services staff who actually do most of our work. So I want to really elaborate the statistics on it for a second and what we're really facing in the United States with suicide. It is the 10th leading cause of death in the whole United States. It is the second leading cause of death for youth, and they usually talk about 15 to 24, but you can drop that down. It's the second leading cause of death for 10 to 14-year-olds. It is the first leading cause of death for college students, a time where most people should be launching their lives. I don't know if angels weep, but I think they do. I know they can rejoice, but I also think they can weep. And I also know I'm facing a board that also lost someone that most of you know to suicide within the last year. And that within this building, there's been losses to suicide. It's not just something that we read about somewhere else. It's something that actually affects our lives. And I believe something can be different, something can be done. You have some flyers in the packets I gave you, and I'm not going to spend the time going through each of the events, but we always do these special events. We do these suicide prevention walks. We do events with schools. Because it's such it kills so many of our youth, we, all year round, although Ellen champions it all year round, we've highlighted the events that are going on this next month, but they go on all year round. If you remember when we had the suicide in the Kern River Valley, and then a spat of suicide attempts of our youth up there. We went door to door in that community across several weeks to try to eradicate that wave of suicide. So these events that you see on the events, even though they highlight what's going on in September, these are year-round events, and we can champion with any school or any agency. I also want to introduce just one concept, and something we've been talking about for a while, but I feel terrible when we say, you know, we're 13.9, the state is 10.9, and the country is 12.9. There's an initiative called Zero Suicide. Zero Suicide actually partners with your law enforcement, which, by the way, law enforcement is a great partner with us, as are all of the agencies, the schools, and the clinical systems. We don't have any bad partners, but it's hard to organize across multiple systems. And so Zero Suicide, when implemented, pulls in the systems, even the medical care components, so that when people come in to see their doctor, they ask them specific questions about depression, and then they look to make interventions early. Where Zero Suicide has been properly implemented, they have seen, for those served within that population, 80% reduction in suicides. And so my partnership this year isn't to bring a whole bunch of people, sometimes we just bring a bunch of people up, but we have veteran services, what we know we have to do better with, we have our crisis system, and we have Zero Suicide. And that's our commitment to this community this year, is to finish the MOU and the RFP and get Zero Suicide implemented in Kern County. So thank you for this proclamation. Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you.
We're all set. Let's get a picture. We all get together. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. The next item on our agenda will be public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. So at this time, I will ask if there are any members of the audience that would like to make a public presentation. We ask that you come forward, state your name, and please observe our 2-minute time limit. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Wes Rogers. I own a home and have resided in Pine Mountain Club for the past 5 years. I'm here today to draw attention to a few potential problems in your animal services group. This is an important matter of public safety, so I need to request a little extra time. Connie Pruin was walking down Glacier Street in Pine Mountain Club when 2 dogs, a pit bull and a German shepherd, attacked her from behind, took her to the ground, biting and tearing her skin 25 times, tearing ligaments left dangling from the back of her leg and causing severe nerve damage. The dogs were working to remove her leg. Had neighbors not responded to her screams, it's safe to say the dogs would have killed her. 6 weeks after the attack, having endured multiple surgeries, Connie recently took a turn for the worse, hospitalized for an additional 6 days with previously undiagnosed life-threatening blood clots above and below the main area of damage to her leg. She is laid up for the foreseeable future, ironically unable to work in her job, walking dogs. The animal service effort needs a more thorough investigation when vicious attacks occur. In Connie's case, the department relied upon an initial phone interview to determine the extent of her injuries. Many dog lovers do not want to be involved in a decision to euthanize an animal, even if they were the one attacked, and that's what Connie did in her interview, downplay the injuries. The problem is that it is not up to Connie to qualify the severity of her injuries. It is a Kern County regulation that animal services must recognize a severe injury. Nowhere in the regulations does it state that it is up to the victim to qualify the extent of the physical injury. How would anyone besides animal services know that county regulations qualify severe injury as a human being attacked by an animal resulting in muscle tears or disfiguring lacerations requiring multiple sutures or corrective surgery, all of which Connie endured. It is the responsibility of Animal Services to make this determination, physically or by any other means. Why were eyewitnesses not reviewed? How can an animal control except severe damage was not done by a pit bull and German Shepherd attack? This incident and the lack of follow-up would lead one to believe that Pine Mountain's remote location is too far away for Animal Services to adequately cover, so they just don't. Whatever the reason, the ball was dropped in this incident, leaving the public further exposed to known vicious attack dogs with no warning to the public. Once Animal Services fully understood the severity of the injuries and the aggressiveness of the attack, the correct action would have been to remove the animals from the community. My attempts to get this understood by Animal Services were rebuffed at every level, from dispatch to the director. None of the department dispatchers, field agents, or supervisors appear to have the authority to do anything other than to protect animals, not humans. There appears to be no sense of urgency or concern when speaking to them, and although they were advised of Connie's injuries by my calls, they refused to act, each time transfer me to the director, who doesn't return urgent phone calls. More disappointing, when finally contacted by the director and appraising him of the oversight, he refused to take action unless the victim herself called him to report she was experiencing more complications. The director claimed I had no right to report loose, dangerous animals in the community because I was not a victim. These are both incorrect and exhibit extremely poor judgment on his part. Instead of accepting responsibility, he offered mistruths, stating he does not have the authority and I do not have the right to report. I've read all and studied the regulations. They clearly state that he has both the authority and the obligation to deem animals that cause severe harm to humans from an unprovoked attack as vicious, and he has the full authority to impound and euthanize animals that are such. So what do we have? A director and staff advised by concerned citizens of loose and dangerous animals with a record of attacking humans, and they still don't act? This is shameful. Only today, after recognizing that this story and his oversight would be publicized, has the director chosen to take action. I understand the animals will finally be removed today, 9 weeks after the attack. In my opinion, the director should be relieved of his duties until it can be determined he is capable of applying judgment to ensure public safety from animals. This should be his #1 priority. Lastly, matters of public safety must reach the top quickly. I'm not sure the filters and layers of subordinates utilized by board supervisors are in the best interest of public safety. Letters were written, phone calls were made, and no help came from the supervisor's office in this incident. Disappointing. I can't believe that our supervisors would deliberately ignore issues of public safety, so I can only surmise the inaction comes from subordinates more focused on other tasks. Once again, issues of public safety must reach the top quickly. Finally, I will remind us all one more time, public safety is #1. Everything else must get in line, animals included. We don't euthanize dangerous and vicious dogs out of revenge for what they did. We euthanize because we now know what they are capable of and don't want it to happen again. Maybe next time, neighbors aren't around to come to the rescue. Maybe next time, it's a small child. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Supervisor Couch represents the Pine Mountain Club area, and so I'll ask if he would like to make any response or referrals to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rogers, thank you for coming today. I learned about this recently. I saw it posted on Facebook, and I had a conversation with my staff just a couple of days ago. I don't believe Mr. Cullen is here today. He was attending to...
I'm hoping he's attending to these animals. That's
no, sir, he was attending to his father who's going into hospice today. That was what he was attending to today. Apparently, the animals are being taken care of, but that's why, if he's not here, that's why he's not here today.
Sure.
Is there anyone here from Animal Services that, thank you. Could I ask that you give us an update on this particular case?
Just before, we need you to... Yeah. We need you on the mic. And I see Officer Sugg is in the rear as well.
So I'm going to invite Officer Sugg down too.
And I need you to state your name, please, for the record.
Okay. I am Blake Smith, Business Manager for the Animal Services Department, and she can.
Senior Officer Sugg, Kern County Animal Services.
Okay. And so essentially what happened was I'm sorry, what was your last name? Mr. Rogers, he stated that we were given one level of information through this by the victim. For whatever reason was, she motivated her to do that, and we essentially acted on the level of information that we were given. Senior Officer Sugg is probably more intimately aware with what's being going on with the animals right now.
Yeah, I have a statement prepared. On June 14th, the victim reported to us that she was bitten by one dog, not two, and that there were scratches. We went out, we quarantined the dog, we did what our normal protocol is. At no such time have we received further information from the victim or from a hospital stating that anything otherwise has happened. So without that information from the victim or a hospital, we can't deem these dogs dangerous.
Thank you, Officer.
Okay. But if we've, if we're given, with the information that we've been given, we can certainly go into a further investigation and determine, see if we can get a better determination of what went down. As of this moment, we acted on the best information that we had available to us at the time. So,
Supervisor Couch.
Yeah, when Mr. Cullen gets back and he's back at his office, maybe we could just have a conversation about this process, and I accept that you move forward with the best information that you had at the time. Mr. Rogers had brought up some points, some issues that I would just like to have a conversation with Mr. Cullen about to see if there are improvements to be made. Then we should take those criticisms and that's not a negative. I'm not using that word in a negative. Take those criticisms and discuss them and see if there are improvements that we could make. But I'll leave it with you to have him get a hold of me when he attends to the issue that he's taking care of today. And I appreciate you being here today, both of you and the officer, Mr. Rogers. How about, I don't know exactly who to report to what we do. I guess we'll respond to you. Can I ask you to speak into the microphone so we have you on the record, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry. I believe it should be Pine Mountain Club that's contacted because it was all the community that was left exposed to these dangerous animals. One more point, though, as a reminder from what I said earlier. I've been attempting to try to get attention to someone for 2 weeks.
I heard
Phone calls looped all around. You just can't believe what I've gone through to get just to this place right here. And so, as far as I'm concerned, yes, Connie downplayed her injuries. Yes, she did mislead Animal Services in terms of the severity of the attack, but I've been talking about it for 2 weeks and I can't get anyone's attention in Animal Services. Seems completely wrong. And I take your point that you're going to investigate and ask some questions. I appreciate it very, very much. I'm a fan of your work. I very much trust you to handle this for me, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Are there any other members of the audience who would like to make a public statement? Please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Scrivener. My name is Nadine Escalante. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Ms. Perez. I don't live in this SERS neighborhood or district. I live in District 3. We had the same problem this summer with 3 pit bulls. It was a mama pit bull and her 2 babies that were about 9 months old. They ran 5 of us, my neighbors, all adults, into our homes where we couldn't get out. At that time, our children were playing outside constantly, and they were terrified to go outside. We wouldn't let them go outside. I called animal control, and they said, we'll be out there in a couple of hours. We're really busy. I called the sheriff's department, and as I have been told, if they're aggressive animals, The sheriff's department is supposed to come out. The sheriff's department said, no, we don't come out, you have to call animal control. As I was watching over my fence so I could safely be protected from these animals, the neighbor's daughter around me from Montello came up our street on her bicycle, unbeknownst that these dogs were there. And the dogs chased her down the end of the street. I started screaming at her, baby, get away, baby, get away. And I got in my car and went down there, and her mother's friend happened to be watching her at the end of the street, so he was able to shoo the dogs away. He's a 6'2" man, and he was terrified. At that point, 5 of our neighbors called animal control to get somebody out. We were blessed that within 45 minutes, 2 officers came, and we had videotaped it, and the officer said, these are highly aggressive dogs. Come to find out, these dogs were trained to be fighter dogs. If they had mauled one of our children in the neighborhood, it would have been grotesque, nor could have been deadly. And that is an urgency that we have to have, like some kind of system where dogs are displaying highly aggressive behaviors, that there has to be like an immediate response. It can't be something that is, oh, we'll get to you in a couple of hours, because children are coming home from school, children are riding bikes, children stray out of the front yard but from our mothers when we're not paying attention. Children are children, and we don't ever want to have our children harmed. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Supervisor Maggard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask Officer Sugg if you would take some information from Ms. Escalante to make sure we know the date and location, so we can look back and see, review our procedures in that, our response to that situation.
I actually remember the call.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who'll be next, please? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Michael Turnipseed representing Kern Tax. I have a request of you today. Over the last 30 years, I've probably ridden Adjournment to Sacramento 50 times. So I'm probably one of the more high riders over that period of time. At a recent board meeting of the San Joaquin Amtrak, we're only talking about Amtrak today, not any other train. Don't get excited. The authority voted to reduce service to Bakersfield. One reason this happened was Kern County is the only county in the San Joaquin Valley that is not occupying its seat on the authority by choice. And they were not there to oppose this reduction in service to Kern County. Last week, Kern Tax met with Dan Levitt of the authority, Supervisor Perez, CAO Mr. Alsop, and Mayor Go to address the issue of reduced service. We made a proposal that because we weren't going to be able to change the reduction, to do a little switch in how the trains operate. The 4:30 train that leaves here is a local that goes to Emeryville, which means in Stockton you have to take the bus. And it gets in about, even though it leaves at 4:30, it gets in around 10 o'clock, 10:15. The second train is a direct to Sacramento. It leaves at 6, but it doesn't get till 10:15 or 10:30. So if you have morning meetings, 9 o'clock, or you're going there for hearings, or you've got to go the night before. We're trying to figure out a way to help local business people and county officials that need to be in Sacramento by 9 o'clock to do business and can come home the same day on an efficient, cost-effective Amtrak ride. We think travelers would save at least 70% by having an efficient train that they can ride up in the morning by 9 o'clock and ride home at 5 o'clock and be home at 10 o'clock and be in your own bed. We made this proposal to Mr. Levitt of switching the two so we can be there by 9, and that's very important. A direct train we proposed would only have 5 stops: Bakersfield, Fresno, Merced, Stockton, and Sacramento. That shaves 45 minutes off the travel time, which makes it competitive with a car. We thought that was important. And finally, the evening 5:15 train is really a perfect thing after your meeting. You get to catch the train at 5:15, and we ask to make that direct so we can be back home by 9:30 instead of 10:30. So our ask today for the 150,000 riders from Kern County that ride Amtrak and for the 400,000 people that get on Amtrak here in Bakersfield from the buses is, first of all, Bakersfield needs to be represented, or Kern County needs to be represented on the authority. We ask that your board request the COG to join the authority to fill their legal seat on the authority to protect and extend services of Amtrak for Kern County citizens. That's my ask today. At the next COG meeting, ask them, it's a simple, there's no money because Caltrans pays for the train and fares. So it's not like you have to write any checks, but somebody does have to go to a quarterly meeting to protect our interests. And I know you, Mr. Couch, is on the COG board along with Chairman Scrivener. So, and it must be a COG board member who fills the seat or an alternate. I don't know if you have an alternate or not, attends your meetings. So you don't have to be there all the time. You can trade off, but at least we'd have somebody there representing our interests, because it's a lot easier to ride a train with Wi-Fi and electric plugs so you can work for 4 hours than try and drive a car up and back in a day. I'm getting way too old for that anyway. But any questions? If not, thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Mr. Trumpseed. And I will, if you, did you have something in writing in regards to that? Because I'd be happy to follow up if you, I'll work with the CAO's office, and also I'll talk to Aaron Hakimi, our director on COG, and we'll get to work on it.
Both Supervisor Perez and the CAO were there along with Mayor Go. They
Okay.
got our presentation PowerPoint
Okay, great.
and all our things, so they should have that.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Trumpseed. Supervisor Perez, thank you.
That was the previous supervisor. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. But I really do appreciate the meeting. Mayor Go was present, as you said, along with our CAO, and I think we had really a robust conversation about improvement in services to Kern County. And I really, once again, have to say thank you, Mike, for pushing as hard as you are. I think we have some complications from the past that, for whatever reason, have caused us to not be as active. And certainly, we have an incredible expert in Aaron Hakimi. Has a lot of experience with this. Certainly, I look forward to his guidance and participation and partnership and how we craft our potential involvement. But I would certainly make myself available, Supervisor Couch, Supervisor Scrivener, happy to step aside as well, whatever makes sense for us. But I think it's a great opportunity, and I certainly hope we can work through the hiccups, because it could be very promising.
It's not just an opportunity, it's an obligation. There's an authority with the Kern County seat that sits vacant. We're not creating it. They meet without us because we don't want to join the party. And I think government has the obligation, when they have a seat at the table representing the locality on a regional basis, to be there and represent us.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Trumpseed.
you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Ma'am, you already spoke once. You have a different subject?
Different subject, yes.
Okay, come forward. You need to just state your name again for the record, please.
It's Nadine Escalante. Good morning, gentlemen, Ms. Perez. I'm here to talk about, again, the police transparency, body cams, and the independent review board. The scripture I'm going to share with you is from Proverbs 16 through 19. It says, "The 6 things the Lord hates, and the 7th he detests. 1, haughty eyes. 2, a lying tongue. 3, hands that shed innocent blood. 4, a heart that devises the most wicked thoughts. 5, feet running swiftly to evil. 6, a deceitful witness bringing forth lies. And the 7th, he who sows discord amongst his brothers." As I bring these to your attention, I have sent off to the Sheriff's Department a complaint against Deputy Jesus Cabral and Amanda Plug in an arrest that was made on my boyfriend December 8th of 2016. And I also gave a copy of this as well to the district attorney's office because I didn't want the district attorney thinking it was okay to go ahead and try to arrest me. The reason why it was very important that I dropped this off is because when I found the illegal activities that were happening with my boyfriend, the probation officer that was handling his case was my ex-best friend of probation who knows personal business about me. So she had no right. It was completely a lack of judgment, and the people who put her in charge is completely wrong. As I worked for probation at that, it wasn't at that time. When I worked for probation years prior, if you were not in good standings with the department, they made your life a living hell. I was one of those people. I had 2 IA investigations that both were lied and manipulated to make me look like I was the problem. And right now, your chief of probation, who participated in the second one, is your chief now. And I was able to go back at the time and speak to Mr. Roberts, who was the chief then, and say, yeah, this is all wrong and it's all lies. And it went away. But now you have a chief who's running a department who didn't even do a good internal affairs because it was wrong. But this is the points. It says in the county policies, 1810, the civil service, every county officer or employee is prohibited from unlawful discriminating against, retaliating against, or harassing any person or from retaliating against. So in the situation in the December arrest, they retaliated against me by arresting my boyfriend, Manuel Romero. When it didn't go out, it wasn't going to happen the way that they had planned. And he got out of jail and all the charges were dismissed because I showed that his civil rights were being violated. Miss Luna had no business holding his paperwork because of the relationship me and her had. Then after that, when Manuel got out of jail, he was being harassed by the public, the attorney's office, the district attorney's office. He had several phone calls coming to his house. It scared the hell out of my boyfriend. He fled town. He didn't know what to do. He said, I've never dealt with something like this, Nadine. I don't know what to do. You terrified my boyfriend. You took my boyfriend away from my family. You took a father away from my children. I'm here because it is time that this stops. I am here because it's not just what you've done to me, but it's what has been done to multiple families. And I have brought this to Mr. Maggard's attention time after time after time again, and nothing has happened, no changes. And so now I work with the NAACP, and I'm so honored to be a part of working with them and opening up this journey to making changes. It is time for police cams. If there's police cams, police can't say you lied because it's all recorded. They can't say that you resisted because it's all recorded. If we have an independent review board, we don't have our own looking over their buddy's paperwork to say, nah, excuse my language, that bitch deserved it.
Ms. Escalante,
Yes.
thank you, and we'd ask you to bring your statement to a close, and then I'll ask Supervisor Maggard if he would like to respond or make a referral to staff.
What I am saying is that we will continue to keep coming here and asking for body cams and an independent review board. We will keep coming and bringing more examples of this over and over so people are aware of their rights, and it is time. It is time to be right with God. We are living in a controlled environment. That's God's environment. Yes, you are the people that uphold the laws, but the laws come down from the Lord. And it's time that we start obeying what our Father in heaven wants us to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Maggard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nations, would you have someone obtain her information so we can find out how to process her complaint, her concerns in a way that will lead to some kind of response that she'll be able to receive. Thank you. So who can we identify that will speak to her so that she'll know she needs to get in contact with? Or should she just sit tight and you'll send somebody down to talk to her?
If she has a card or something, leave it with me. I'll have somebody get in touch with her right away.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Thank you, Mr. Nations. Okay, any other public statements? Okay, please come forward. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak after? No? Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And how are you? You all look so nice up there. My name is Glenda Reddick, and I live on Pioneer Drive. And I'm a college graduate from San Jose Christian College. I'm from the San Jose area. And the house I'm living in was my husband's aunt, and she left it to him. My husband died in 2013. So I live there by myself. I recently wrote a letter to Mr. Maggard. He probably just received it maybe 2 or 3 days ago. But I have new neighbors. I had a good friend living there, Janie, with her husband and her daughter. But these new neighbors are really something. I don't know if they know who I am or if they put any importance on it, but they recently got a bandsaw and put it up against my fence. And you know how loud that is. I mean, I could hear it in my kitchen window, and I didn't have any peace for a long time. And I have some children's pool on the side of my house. And in order to cool off during the day, I'll go out there and get in this children's pool. And I don't think they liked it, if it is any of their business anyway. But I don't know what could be done about it. But anyway, I'm moving into San Jose to be near my daughter. She's expecting a child in March, so I'll probably be living in a senior living apartment. I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if any of you could do anything about it to help me out here.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. And you indicated that you have sent a letter to Supervisor Maggard. That's his district.
Yes,
so I'll ask if Supervisor
I did.
Maggard would like to respond.
I recently. I don't
Thank
know
you.
if he's received it yet.
Supervisor Maggard, please.
Thank you. Mr. Alsop, would you have one of your staff speak with Ms. Reddick? Ms. Reddick, could you just pause right there next to that young man with the big smile on his face? And he'll get some information from you. So we can, I've not seen the letter, but we'll be happy to follow up. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor. And now we'll move on to board member announcements or reports. Are there any members of the board that would have an announcement or report?
Chairman, I do.
Okay, Supervisor Perez, please.
Well, thank you. Next Wednesday, we will have our third and final blood drive here at the County Administrative Building. And if you come and give blood, you will get a delicious lunch from Sequoia, an adult pass to the fair that's coming up, and a parking pass to the fair. So we are very, very excited that we've had the opportunity to host here at the County Administrative Office. It will be my first opportunity to give since having my son and receiving blood. So I'm particularly excited, and I'm going to bring the little fella out to raise some hell here at the Administrative Building. So he will be here. It will be a great celebration. If you're interested in giving, we're going to give back some pretty good stuff to you too. So please consider. This will be our last one of the year, so appreciate your willingness to give. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Next item on our agenda will be item 14. This is under County Administrative Office. This is a report on East Kern Economic Diversification Study, and I will turn to Ryan Alsop, our County Administrative Officer, to start us off. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thomas Brown of the CAO's office will handle this item.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The item before you is a report on the findings of the East Kern Economic Diversification Study. The study area includes the communities of Boron, California City, Mojave, Ridgecrest, Rosemont, and Tehachapi. In February 2015, your board approved the County Administrative Office's request to apply for grant funding from the Department of Defense, Office of Economic Adjustment, to pursue an economic diversification study in eastern Kern County. Diversification projects sanctioned by the OEA typically focus on communities that are reliant upon military-based expenditures for regional economic stability. The studies are aimed at helping communities plan for and adjust to potential defense industry cutbacks, base closures, and incompatibilities between military operations and local development. The county applied for and was awarded a $450,000 federal grant from the DoD and was required to provide a $50,000 in-kind match. A request for proposals was issued, and in January 2016, your board approved the selection of TIP Strategies from Austin, Texas, as the project consultant. The economic diversification strategy developed by TIP is the result of comprehensive stakeholder engagement with the 6 communities in the East Kern region. TIP's work focused on leveraging the region's most promising opportunities for long-term prosperity, while simultaneously identifying and addressing its most significant economic challenges and barriers. Chabon Concepts, a California-based economic development consulting firm, also assisted TIP and Kern County throughout the project. Ultimately, TIP provided services from the spring 2016 to early summer 2017 and delivered a very thorough work plan. TIP collaborated with regional leaders to gain a deep qualitative and quantitative understanding of East Kern's challenges and opportunities, which yielded a strategic plan aimed at guiding the economic development efforts in eastern Kern County over the next several years, and it also provides a roadmap for the region's long-term economic advancement. The overall economic development strategy will measure success in the following ways: increasing the number of high-wage jobs in East Kern, strengthening the tax base of the region's communities, raising income levels for area households, supporting the growth of existing employers, growing the region's population and housing stock, expanding regional amenities and entertainment offerings, attracting new businesses and new business investment into the region, and raising the educational attainment levels of the area workforce. At this point, I'd like to introduce John Karras and Tom Stellman from TIP Strategies to present their findings.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Good morning. If you'd introduce yourself, please.
All right. I'm Tom Stellman with TIP Strategies.
Good morning, Supervisors. I'm John Karras with TIP.
Thank you for giving us a few minutes this morning. We have a 4-hour presentation. Hope you guys have time for that. No, hopefully we'll take about 15 minutes or so here.
Okay.
And our goal today is to give you some teasers so that those who haven't had an opportunity to read through this will go back and say, gosh, that's what I want to do tonight, is read this report and these recommendations. So without further ado, John did the majority of the work here. He was our project director, so I'm going to hand it off to him here momentarily. But I do want to say thanks to Thomas and to Teresa with the staff here. They were super supportive from the county. Richard Chapman with the Kern EDC, and then we have the mayor of California City, and we have Michelle Vance from Tehachapi here, and I think we might have had Kelly Bearden from the SBDC, and I apologize if I missed somebody else, but it was a great team to work with, and I know we met with you, Chairman, and others, but I think what I'll do is I'll say 2 words about what the Department of Defense likes for these kinds of projects. They like local involvement. They want this to be more than just consultants coming in from out of town and making recommendations, and we got that as part of this. There was a lot of local buy-in, a lot of those that were in East Kern. These were their ideas. We had some good ideas, but they had better ideas. And so I want to give a lot of credit there, and I think the Department of Defense really likes that. And I will add to what Thomas said earlier, which is the Department of Defense provides these funds because they're interested in healthy, vibrant communities around their installations. That furthers the interests of the Department of Defense. That's not why they gave the grant, but that's why they're interested in this. They want a healthy, East Kern because of the 2 major installations that are there, Edwards and Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake. And the other reason is that right now, the military competes with the private sector to attract the best talent. And having communities that are vibrant means it makes it easier for them to be able to attract the talent that they need. I mean, some world-class research and development happens out at China Lake, and for them to be able to attract the scientists that they need to conduct that's what this plan, that's at the heart of this plan. And so without further ado, I'll hand it off to John and let John talk about some of the details there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Stellman. John, would you spell your last name for us? I didn't quite catch it.
Yes, it's Karras, Karras.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for the wonderful overview, Thomas. I guess you're in control of the clicker here for the PowerPoint. Is that correct? So I guess we can jump past through the intro up to the key findings, a few more here, and just get to, I guess worth stopping there briefly. So there's a few things that inform, so there's a plan that has a lot of recommendations for the county, for Kern ADC, for the individual communities. And the way we come to those recommendations is through three sources. One is what we learn from the community, talking to the stakeholders, the employers. The other one is what the data tells us, whether it's right or wrong or tells an incomplete story. We have to look at that. And then the other thing is our experience. As Thomas mentioned, we're based in Austin, Texas, but we work on consulting projects for cities and counties across the country. So bringing knowledge of what has worked in other communities, what has not worked, and applying that here. So I guess we can move on to some of the high-level key findings from a qualitative standpoint. So the next one here looks at just starting with the understanding of the reality that there's some significant challenges that East Kern's economy is facing. One of them is a dependence on a couple of very large employers that serve as the core of the economy. And then as Tom mentioned, the big challenge in today's national economy is really access to skilled workers. So being able to support your existing employers, not even to think about what it takes to attract new employers. That's all of that really is driven by the skilled workers that are needed by those employers and by those companies. One of the other challenges that really stood out was the leakage or the loss of spending or people leaving the area to commute down to jobs in other parts of Los Angeles County, leaving East Kern to come to Bakersfield. So the next one, though, we looked at what if we go to the next slide here, we look at what are the significant assets that you have to leverage from an economic standpoint. And obviously there's some world-class military and private sector, if you're talking about the Mojave Air and Spaceport and the aerospace engineering activities that are going on there. The flip side of that leakage is you have proximity to the greater Los Angeles area. And there's actually some pretty strong ties in East Kern County, the communities that were mentioned, a little bit stronger commuting back and forth to Lancaster and Palmdale than there is here to Bakersfield, although there's strong ties between Bakersfield and East Kern as well. And just some of the partner organizations that you have, we've mentioned a few of them. Saracoso is another important player, and there's a lot of industries that are strong in East Kern, beyond just military and defense. Obviously, a lot of investments in clean energy. There's been significant growth in mining, not just Rio Tinto, but also Golden Queen and some others. So there's a lot to work with. So instead of the next several slides here kind of go over some of the data, we also looked at mapping out all the different resources that you have from a tourism standpoint, infrastructure, some other organizations that are assets for economic development. But yeah, I guess just in the spirit of, as a teaser, we'll skim past these and maybe go to the very last one of these data slides, probably 6 or 7 of them. Yeah, the one right before that. So we looked at, there's a fancy sounding term called location quotients that really just tells you, compared to the national economy, do you have a higher concentration or lower concentration in a given industry or given occupation? So this actually looks at the occupations in East Kern compared to the county, compared to the greater Antelope Valley, which is East Kern plus Lancaster and Palmdale. And of all the different data tables and charts, this is probably the one that was most exciting to me, at least, because you look at those occupations where you're significantly above a 1.0, so where you have a much higher concentration than the U.S. Architecture and engineering, nearly 4 times the national average. Life science, physical science, business and finance, computer and math. Those are some of the most in-demand, high-skilled occupations. So these are the people that are working in East Kern. You have a lot of that highly skilled, highly educated talent base that is able to help your existing employers, but that can also be a tool to attract new employers. So they just wanted to call attention to that one There's a lot of findings in the data that we looked at, but that was one that really stood out. So the data is interesting, but it's not really all that useful unless it leads somewhere. So what do you do about it? So this is the Regional Economic Diversification Plan. We've structured it around 5 major goal areas. The first one you could say is really baseline economic development, what every community needs to do to be successful, to have a strong economy. So that's the business development. The second one is addressing that key, what the employers are needing, which is workforce development. Also, the other half of that is attracting and retaining skilled workers. The third, and this is really important for East Kern because so much of your economy is based on innovation and really pushing the boundaries of existing technologies and developing new technologies. The fourth deserved its own separate focus, which is tourism and the role that attracting visitors and your tourism assets play in the economy. And then the fifth is really goals 1 through 4 are what needs to happen to strengthen the regional economy, and goal 5 is the regional collaboration and the tools and resources necessary to help implement the other 4 goals. So maybe we'll just go through and spend maybe 1 minute on each of these. So the first one, business development. Whether you like it or not, you are in the economic development game, and it's a competitive, fiercely competitive game nationally. It's funny, just on the flight on the way over here, we had somebody that we know out of Austin who works for the Greater San Marcos Partnership, not San Marcos, California, but an economic development organization in the Austin area, and they're coming here to meet with companies in California to try to do the sales pitch to the same thing that Governor Perry did back when he was in Texas, to tell companies, hey, California, we've got a cheaper, more friendly landscape. So just to put that out as an example, and Richard knows this very well with the EDC, that you have to be in that game, and you've had some successes, but there has not been a focused effort at the regional level for East Kern. So that's something that we really hope that this plan, and if there's additional resources that can come to help implement this, just the business development, the relationships with the executives and companies and the real estate brokers and the folks that impact decisions of where companies locate or relocate or expand. So I guess we can move on. So this is within the business recruitment, it's not about having a generic, come here, we're a great place to live, work, and play. It's really honing in on the specific messaging that will speak to the decision makers in certain industries. So this came out of actually an old marketing material from the Mojave Air and Spaceport. And this is not a generic come one, come all. This is really specifically honing in on what it takes to innovate. So we saw this and thought this was an interesting example of a more specific marketing tactic. So the next section, we talk about target industries, and probably worth talking briefly what it means to target an industry. It's not just about marketing, but it's also about the specific workforce initiatives that help fuel the talent that's needed by specific employers. For aerospace, again, using that as an example, working with Saracoso and your K through 12 districts and others to build the pipeline of aircraft and aerospace engineering and technicians that provide what those employers need. So we can move on to there's a process and a framework that looking at all the different assets that what kind of industries make sense to go after. And the next one here looks at I think one more slide if we move forward. Yeah, there we go. So at a high level, this looks a lot like the target industries that were identified in the Kern County Economic Roadmap, with the exception of agriculture. But when you narrow in and you zoom into the subsectors, that's where we're really speaking about the opportunities within East Kern in particular. So looking at tourism, for example, you have probably one of the biggest clusters of aircraft enthusiasts and people that own and operate their own aircraft anywhere that we've seen throughout the United States. So that's something that's very specific of targeting what can you do to encourage them to stay here, them to bring their colleagues to potentially to visit the area and relocate. So there's some really specific things within this. Won't go into detail on these, but probably moving on to the next one here, which is looking at the talent and workforce development opportunities. So we talked about the workforce development being half of it and then talent attraction being the other half. So really honing in on what can be done. The message that came loud and clear was in order to support the existing industries and to recruit new companies, talent is that connecting force behind that. So working with Saracoso and the employers to develop programs that help fuel not just a single employer, not just a single industry, but in some cases there may be technicians and some of the STEM, the science and technology occupations that support the mining companies as well as aerospace, as well as the military installations. And then moving on to the third, innovation. This is something that it's really part of the culture of East Kern. The private sector comes here to push the boundaries, whether you're talking about in Cal City, the test tracks for Honda and Hyundai, whether you're talking about the engineering talent that's at Mojave Air and Spaceport. It's really part of what draws people to this area. And then, of course, the public sector, the two core missions of China Lake and Edwards, it's all about the development and testing and deployment of new technologies. So how can that be leveraged to create additional investment? I think the next one here, this talks about how the Department of Defense is competing with the private sector. And there's actually some interesting new partnerships. This one's the Defense Innovation Unit Experimental, DIUX, which is a collaboration of the military and Silicon Valley, as they have a satellite in Boston as well as one in Austin now. So building those linkages to the innovation that's going on with these types of activities and connecting that to especially China Lake and Edwards, that's something that where we see additional opportunities. And if you talk to Derek and Cameron over at China Lake, and they'll tell you that the contracting opportunities and the desire of the installations to support additional innovation and small business growth in the community is a big focus that they're looking at. So that's another opportunity. So the fourth goal here, and this is something that really, I think it surprised me, when you look at East Kern, until you really get to know what is available from a tourism standpoint, you have to scratch below the surface, and there's a really large menu of tourism destinations, outdoor recreation opportunities, events and festivals. There's the Tehachapi Grand Fondo coming up pretty soon, and you've got the Petroglyph Festival in Ridgecrest, and there's really a diverse set of activities that can, I think if you find a way to package them together, and if there's a regional focused effort, it can draw in a lot more activity, spending within the local economy at hotels, restaurants, retail, but also helping to make one of the things that tourism so naturally lends itself to broader economic development is the people that visit a place are often going to be remembering that place when they have an investment decision to make, or if they're looking at a small corporate expansion, or we've seen a lot of communities we've worked in where a small company starts off where somebody's working remotely and they happen to like the environment, and eventually that leads to a larger growth of a company. So this is something we see a lot of opportunities that isn't always a part of a high-level strategy and economic development plan, but it definitely makes sense here. So moving on, and that's of course the Pacific Crest Trail, which I don't think we realized until several months into the project when we had some spare time near Ridgecrest and just drove a little bit to the west, and you have this amazing asset from outdoor recreation, and that's just one out of many. So that's something we see a lot more opportunities. So I think Thomas, you may want to talk about this a little bit after we wrap up. But what we see is the role of the East Kern Economic Alliance, which was basically our steering committee throughout this project, the leaders in each community, supported by the Kern EDC, as coalescing and formalizing and being the implementing body for the regional plan here, and hopefully being able to leveraged some additional funding from the Office of Economic Adjustment that provided the funding for this planning process to help with implementation. And there's some other communities we've worked in recently, Fort Campbell in Tennessee and Kentucky, they've recently been awarded implementation funding. So there's some promising signs coming out of DoD that there will be resources available to support the implementation. But we don't want to just limit it to that. There's other funding sources from the federal government, from foundations and other sources that can help play a role in moving forward the implementation. So that's really it from the regional plan. There were also 6 different individual community plans that were put together as part of this. Probably in the interest of time, rather than going through each one of them, we'll let the representatives here from a couple of those communities say something briefly about their plans, and then we can wrap up and talk about next steps if that works. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll open this up and ask if anybody would like to speak. Mayor Wood, please come forward.
Thank you very much, Chairman Scrivener. This has been a really interesting process. People normally, like myself, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm a mayor of a community. I'm not an economic development professional. My background is in the military and in aerospace. I don't know anything about economic development, so I've had to learn. And I've relied on a lot of folks to get answers. But I wanted to start with a thank you to you, sir, because I have to thank you for your efforts, because we came to you saying, we need help. And in our conversation with you and others that one day, a couple of years ago, it seems like, we thought of what better to attach this than to go and look at what the whole region of East Kern could bring and work together. So as a result of this project, we found pathways, people like myself and others have found pathways to improve our communities. So we're setting up workforce development to support new industries in my community and others in the region. But I also wanted to say there's a lot of other people that we need to thank. And I'd like to if you would mind, I would like to say who is a part of this project.
Yeah, by all means.
Thank you. On the East Kern Economic Alliance, key stakeholders were Richard Chapman, President and CEO of the Kern Economic Development Corporation. I rely on him quite a bit for just about everything economic development. Karina Dries, the CEO and General Manager of the Mojave Air and Spaceport. Kimberly Mavers, the President of the Greater Antelope Valley Economic Alliance. Myself, Bill Deaver from the Edwards Community Alliance. Kelly Bearden, Director of the CSU Bakersville SBDC, who's here today. Gary Parsons, Economic Development Manager, former Economic Development Manager of the City of Ridgecrest. Michelle Vance, former Economic Development Coordinator, City of Tehachapi. Ryan Rush, your former field representative for our district. Yourself, sir. Teresa Hitchcock, sorry, Teresa. Thomas Brown, and he did a whole lot of stuff, and he's a pleasure to work with. Tip Strategies, of course, you've met Mr. Spellman and Mr. Karras, and I think they have other folks in their office. Alex Cook was a senior consultant. Karen Beard was a lead analyst. Meredith Eberly is a project support, and we couldn't forget Chabin Concepts and Consulting Team. Audrey Taylor, she's the president and CEO. Vicki Dahl, Fawn McLaughlin, and the principal of FJ McLaughlin and Associates. And I won't go through my team members in California City, but you take those numbers at the very top, and I had equal numbers within our communities that became involved, from business people and Chamber of Commerce and REDC. So this is an excellent report. I've read the report. I've read both reports, the East Kern and our individual ones, and I encourage you all to take the time to review these if you have an opportunity, because there may be little nuggets in your own districts that you can get out of this, because, you know, East Kern is an energy, mining, aerospace, and new agriculture that's coming to our communities. So we have opportunities. We're a little bit different than this side, but we are all one county, and we all benefit from the successes of our entire county. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak on this today. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor Wood, thank you, and you know, I appreciate your kind words as far as my participation, but you know, you and I think Tom Wheel
Yes.
came to my office and we started talking about this, and then we said, hey, let's get all the other cities involved in East Kern, and so the county with the unincorporated areas in each of the cities, and so thank you for your leadership. And for everybody who's here, I know we're going to hear other speakers, but every community really stepped up and made this document what it is through their input. As the folks from TIP were saying, this wasn't consultants coming to town and doing an analysis solely. This was a lot of input and a lot of hard work from our people in East Kern that made this document, I think, as valuable as it really is. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And we also learned a lot more about our communities, our neighbors through this process and how we can help them and they can help us. So it is a regional approach. We're all boats are gonna rise with the tide on the East Kern side. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Michelle Vance, Community of Tehachapi. Today I'm representing the Greater Tehachapi Economic Development Council. I'm the secretary of the board. I had the great pleasure of working on this project. And one thing that we learned in Tehachapi is it's very expensive to collect data. And data is how, right? Data is how you make decisions. And one of the things that we learned is that, like in the community of Tehachapi, 68% of our population leaves every day to go to work. That's a big deal. That's how you make decisions on your retail and who do you want to, attract to your community. And we learned so much information about our town. It actually changed the way we marketed Tehachapi. And it's changing the way we market Tehachapi. And the tourism aspect, we learned that we have over a $104 million tourism industry in Tehachapi, which is a real economy. That's jobs, that's business owners, that's a real amazing effort of a lot of people working together. And with our Economic Development Council and our Tourism Commission, we will be taking this report and digging through it even further to help market Tehachapi to future business owners, investors. And one of the things that we have learned and that's coming up on the horizon in economics and expansion is Northrop Grumman. They're hiring 7,000 people. And we learned that Tehachapi is a preferred place to live. It's very attractive. It's a place you want to visit. It's a place you want to live. And so one of the things that the city of Tehachapi is working on is a relocation packet to attract new people to live in Tehachapi. And I think that the people that are working in that industry come from the East Coast. It's very different than the desert. And we've learned that they are very attracted. We have that lifestyle. We have the outdoor recreation. We have that what is attractive to people to move their families up here. So it was a great project. I was able to get one of our jerseys to Tip Strategies, and he wears it in Texas, very proud. And anyway, long story short, thank you for Zach for helping champion this, and Tehachapi is very grateful.
Thank you, Michelle, for everything you did. You were a champ on this project. Who'll be next, please? Okay, is that all the speakers we have? I acknowledge we do have some folks with the city of Tehachapi in the back. Thanks for being here, guys. Good to see you. Richard and Kelly are here. So no other comments from any of the folks in the audience? Okay. Ms. Karras, you were going to talk about next steps, I believe. So I think that's what's on my mind. Where do we go from here? I mean, we have all this great data. So how do we move forward with the implementation? And then I want to hear from my staff as far as efforts to try and leverage this OEA grant for implementation. Anything else that we may be able to find. And so, Ms. Hitchcock, I'll anticipate you might have some thoughts on that. So please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So I guess we can, we had a graphic that showed the implementation matrix. Maybe that's worth pulling up for 30 seconds here before, in the meantime, while we're talking about that. So thank you, Chairman, for mentioning what do we do about all this. One answer is the East Kern Economic Alliance continues to meet and prioritize specific actions. Another answer is each of the 6 individual communities have their plans that they're working on with their civic leaders, their business leaders. In some cases, in the unincorporated communities, they'll be looking to the county for more help. So talking about Rosamond, Boron, Mojave. But what we've done is we've taken all the strategies and put a time frame to them. I think the one right before that, so we've got the specific strategies and actions, and then who is the main organization that's responsible for working on those, and then is that going to be an ongoing activity? Is that something that you start over the next 12 months? Is that something you do over the next couple of years? So after this plan is officially adopted by the region and by the county, it's obviously supporting those efforts, but then the funding requests to OEA, so that's something that I think we'll let Thomas and maybe Teresa talk about a little bit more.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Who'd like to speak? Ms. Hitchcock or Mr. Brown? Who would like to start?
I'll take that, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So to help with the implementation phase of the project, the CAOs, we're currently working with OEA on a funding package to secure hopefully at least one full-time contract position that will be dedicated to working with the 6 communities in East Kern over the next 2 years. The goal is to help the region, but particularly the unincorporated communities of Boron, Mojave, and Rosemont to accomplish a lot of the goals and objectives that were identified by TIP. And obviously the county is firmly dedicated to the region, and we're going to continue to pursue all available resources to assist the economic development and overall success of the East Kern economy. So as we move forward with that process, we'll keep your board apprised.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hitchcock, do you have any thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Teresa Hitchcock, Economic and Workforce Development. I'd first of all like to say thanks to TIP Strategies and for the tremendous effort they made to make sure that all of the communities were involved in this effort, because it's really important that these plans are actually developed by the communities themselves. And we're really fortunate in East Kern. We have a lot of great leadership. Jennifer Woods, Michelle Vance, we have just some fantastic folks out there who are working in this arena already. So as we move forward, we already have the infrastructure for implementation in place. So that's one of the things that I think will make our application for the implementation funding stronger, is that we do already have some of this infrastructure in place in order to make this happen. So we're excited about the project moving forward, and we think that we're going to see tremendous success from it.
Thank you. And in one of your other many capacities, you head up our Board of Trade, and I know that there was some discussion of tourism and the tourism opportunities. So anything revealed to you through the study, and as far as that's concerned?
We know that tourism in East Kern is a huge part of the local economy. You have Red Rock Canyon, which is one of, it's a place that attracts people from all over the world, as well as the Mojave Desert. There's a lot of off-highway vehicle, as well as some of the fantastic festivals that are put on in East Kern, from the Renaissance Fair in California City to Tehachapi's Grand Fondo. Those things attract thousands of people. So really looking at how we better package the area, I think TIP Strategies hit it on the head, that we really need to look at how we better package those things and really get it out to a broader audience, because we do have a lot of tourism assets out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm ready to hear some Ridgecrest perspective. Supervisor Gleason, do you have any thoughts for us?
Let me get the button squared away. Thanks a lot. It was a phenomenal presentation, a great brief. My hat's off to TIP and everything they've done to get us to this point. I was perusing through the studies, and I was learning stuff about a town that I've lived there for 10 years, and I'm learning new stuff about things I just didn't understand completely. I'm going to urge the City Council, now that Mr. Parsons has departed the pattern, to re-engage, make sure we continue to get plugged in there, find ways the Kern River Valley can, through China Lake Alliance or some other ways, to get them engaged. And I'm really looking forward to see this thing blossom, and it's got an opportunity. It's something people in Eastern Kern, before I got a job here at this, doing this, I was doing the China Lake Alliance stuff and doing other kind of stuff to bring the community together. And there was never any real trigger to galvanize the entire effort to get it, put it all in one package. Because when you look at it from a 30,000-foot perspective, it makes so much sense. There's so many things in common between Mojave and Ridgecrest and Boron and Tehachapi and all the communities out there. And I think this has a chance. I think it has a real good chance. So I'm optimistic. I'm thrilled that you people did what you've done. I'm very thankful and look forward to some great success with it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Supervisor Gleason. And Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Teresa, great job. Everybody, obviously, this is incredible. Looking through this, Teresa, reminds me of some of the documents we put together around workforce. I noticed the 5 economic sectors of growth. I see the crossover with Kern too. So this is just so cool. And I'm wondering, Teresa, will we have an update for the Workforce Summit this year on this sort of very quick, one sheet? May I, Chairman, ask Teresa Hitchcock a question, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Supervisor Perez, through the chair, absolutely. Our Workforce Summit is taking place in October this year. We will have an update on some of the workforce initiatives going on. We're also going to be taking a look at what the future of workforce looks like given the tremendous changes in technology and how that's affecting the workforce. So we're really excited to present that. And I also have another presentation following this on some of the efforts that are going on in workforce. So I think that we're seeing that this is really important across the entire county.
Outstanding. It would be great. Teresa, we had the one with the average cost of a home, the median incomes. This is just incredible. I can't believe what I've learned in such a short period. But so hats off to you guys. This is so helpful and exactly where we need to be. So thank you.
Supervisor Maggard.
Just want to say congratulations to everybody involved. You guys have got it going on in East Kern, so good for you.
Thank you, Supervisor. And so what I'd like to ask, the requested action is to receive and file. I don't see any other requests to make any comments or anybody from the audience, but so we'll need a motion to receive and file this report. However, Mr. Brown, what is the plan in regards to obviously the implementation and looking to see if we can secure some funding to hire a staff member that is going to work with the East Kern Economic Alliance to help implement this? And when and if we do, I'm going to say when because I'm optimistic, identify some funding, you'll come back to the board with that report and potentially some action.
Chairman Scribner, absolutely. So we're working with OE right now. We're working with our liaison there to put together a strong application package. Right now, we're kind of tangled up with the federal budget. They're going through the appropriations process right now, but their fiscal year starts October 1, so we'll have to wait and see where they're at there. There may be, there's hints that there may be a continuing resolution for at least maybe the first month to get everything pushed through, but it's kind of a work in progress, but we're working on a very robust package right now, so hopefully we're very optimistic that we're going to get some funding for the implementation phase. So
excellent. That's excellent. Okay.
Motion on staff's recommendation.
Okay. We have a motion to receive and file and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you, and thank you to all of our friends who came to speak on this item from East Kern. Appreciate you making the trip. It was great to see you here, and I know that there are others that have been watching that are interested as well. So thank you so much. All right, next item on our agenda will be item 16. This is under Employers Training Resource. This is a report regarding Employment Partnership Innovation Center, the EPICenter at Beale Library, and Education and Workforce Training Collaborative. We're going to hear again from Teresa Hitchcock. And so, Teresa, when you are ready, please proceed. Oh, you have a lot of folks joining you on this item. Fantastic.
I do. Good morning, Chairman Scrivener, members of the board. As you just heard from TIP Strategies, workforce has obviously been identified across the county as a tremendous concern for businesses and really the cornerstone for how we're going to grow our local economy. So we have a number of initiatives going on in the workforce realm. I'm going to talk about one today. This is only one partnership. One of the things that we found as soon as I came to Employers Training Resource was that we have the third highest rate of youth disconnection in Kern County, which means that 21% of our youth are neither working nor in school. We realize that unless we address this issue and provide opportunities to re-engage these youth, that we cannot meet the needs of employers. So we have started the Employment Partnership Innovation Center at the Beale Library, otherwise known as the EPICenter, or EPIC, and it is a collaborative effort involving more than 20 partners, including public agencies, nonprofits, business. I would like to emphasize the importance of this and other partnership efforts. It's not going to be one effort that's going to fix our issues in this county with workforce, and I think we're making tremendous strides right now. There are a lot of really good things going on across the county. Many of you are aware of a recent study that the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce completed that identified education, training, and workforce development as one of the top 3 requested actions for local government. Respondents to the Chamber's survey indicated that 75% of businesses believe local workforce programs are meeting the needs of business. Of course, our goal is to make that 100%, so we're going to be working hard in that direction. In addition, the Chamber's findings indicate that our workforce must be literate in science, technology, engineering, and math, and highly skilled. And I think you just heard that from TIP Strategies as well, that that's a big concern in East Kern County. In order for Kern County to remain competitive in attracting, retaining, and recruiting new companies to our community, we will need to ensure that our workforce has the technology skills required by business. This means that we need to fully engage our youth. And one of the main goals for the EPICenter is to reduce youth disconnection rates in Kern County. The vision for the EPICenter is to shake up traditional models by providing access to technology and instruction in a fun, interactive environment. Leveraging the resources of multiple partners, the EPICenter will provide a variety of entertaining, interactive, educational, and entrepreneurial activities at the Beale Library. The concept behind the center is to re-engage youth and provide them with the necessary skills to be successful in continuing their education or entering the workforce. The Beale Library was chosen for its central location, easy access to public transportation, available space to develop the center, and technology already in place to support a wide array of training activities. At this time, I would like to show a brief video of a web design class that took place this summer at the EPICenter, where students were not only given technical skills, but were also paired with a nonprofit to give them an entrepreneurial experience designing for an actual client.
This is the EPICenter. It's at the Beale Library. I'd say it's about 15, 20 computers. We have 2 iMacs. We've had a total of about 10, 15 students come and go so far. But I would say it's just a positive learning environment for the students to grow as a designer in multiple different aspects. This web design workshop is designed for students over summer to come in with no knowledge of websites, or even if they do have knowledge, but to come in and to increase their knowledge of it. So we started with basic introductory code academy, where students come in and learn entry-level HTML and CSS coding, and then from there we moved into some of the design concepts, and so some of the art and the background that goes into it. We had multiple guest speakers come in. We had a photographer, a graphic designer, and a web developer come in and speak to the students into all the processes that go into developing a website.
I have learned to code because that is a big part of web design. I've learned to code. It kind of hurts my brain, but otherwise I like it.
And we teach each other things. So the whole idea for me is that I learn from other people, Xavier and even the students, we learn from each other.
So when you build a website, you also can learn graphic design. And I just feel like if they ever do have an idea, or if they ever want to help their friend, or if they ever want to start their business, I feel like web design is very important.
I've been learning how to deal with WordPress website design and also some business essentials.
I've seen a lot of growth, and I've seen really a lot of direction. So a lot of the students, when they came in, including myself, we didn't understand the entire process that was involved. Being able to see their talents and how they've grown just in the short amount of time that I've had with them almost makes me want to teach the class full-time year-round, and want to see what other great things they can produce.
So at this time, I'd like to have Andy Apple come up to talk about some of the other great programs, because there are so many things going on right now, and we are really concentrating on this science, technology, engineering, and math component for these students in order to bring them back into education and the workforce. So Andy, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the library programs?
Absolutely.
Good morning. Well, the Kern County Library, the Beale Library, we're very pleased to be part of this effort. As you know, we have a lot of events already going on, so it was a natural fit. And since we started in the summer with the web design class, which we will have someone talk about that shortly, we've seen it be really successful, grow social media-wise, the awareness. So we look forward to planning this in the future. And I'll hand it over to Teresa.
Thank you, Andy. I have Corrine Knickerberg with the Kern High School District here. She actually provided the instructor for the web design class, and that's what we're really doing is tying resources from about 20 different agencies, including public agencies, nonprofits, and the business community into this center. So we're really leveraging resources that already exist to create it. So we're not requiring new or additional resources. We're just combining resources that are already available in the community and making them available in an easier to access format. So I'll have Corrine come up and talk a little bit.
And Corrine, would you spell your name for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
It's K-A-R-I-N-E-K-A-N-I-K-K-E-B-E-R-G.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be part of this. I want to thank Teresa for letting me come up here and chat. And one of the things this project we've really become aware of is the lack of access that some of our youth are feeling to get these services. So in our department, we do 10,000 things. So when Teresa first said, come up and talk for 2 minutes, I'm like, take the 8-hour presentation and turn it to 2. So I'm just going to talk about one thing that we've been doing this summer. So when we looked at the out-of-school youth, they have transportation issues and they don't have childcare and all sorts of things, as well as looking at our outlying areas. So this summer, we had some of our students create online accessible workshops that the students will be able to do from their phone to gain skills from entrepreneurial, financial literacy, resume development, any number of activities. And these were all created by young people. A couple of them are here. So that they were really putting the youth voice on this. And we're also looking at really trying to roll out lots of technology, because that's how our kids learn, and everything is able to be done on a phone. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So I think the most important thing are the people who are actually coming to the center. And Dave Teasdale, who's with the Kern Community College District, we were also very honored to have his daughter as one of our first participants in the web design. So Dave is going to come up and talk actually from a parent's perspective on what this means.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Yes, the young lady with the sore brain is my daughter. She's a young adult with some disability. She has high-functioning autism. And so having something productive for her to do where she can learn some job skills, she can get the socialization in a very welcoming environment that's safe is really a godsend for a parent of a child in this situation. So I'm proud to be a partner in this, and I'm also a proud parent that she got to participate and do so well in the program. So thanks for a moment to share a parent's perspective.
We really appreciate you being here. Thank you. That's great perspective.
So again, this is but one of the many great projects that's going on in education and workforce development. We have a number of partnerships that we've created across the county. DHS, I'd have to say hats off to them. They have been phenomenal partners in this, as well as Kern High School District, the Kern County Library, Department of Rehabilitation, Employment Development Department. Again, there are 20 plus folks involved. Kern Economic Development Corporation. Kelly Bearden was rounding up businesses for us so that the kids could experiment on how to work with a business to design a website. So they had that entrepreneurial component to it. So thanks to all of our partners for really making this thing happen. And we look forward to our fall schedule that we're putting together right now. And so hopefully you'll hear many more good things about this. And I'm open to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hitchcock. See Supervisor Perez is punched in.
Thank
Supervisor
you.
Perez.
I see Dave, I don't have my glasses on, so I didn't realize that was you until you came up to the podium. So now I'm really excited, as this is like a blast from the past here, Teresa. I still remember the day Mike Turnipseed sent one of many, many, many emails he sends to the Board of Supervisors asking us what are we going to do about some impending crisis. And it was this one in particular, a youth disconnected rate, that really was eye-opening for us in the workforce group, because we discovered that in 98, the largest metropolitan areas in the U.S. surveyed, Bakersfield being one of them, we had the second highest youth disconnected rate in the country. The highest being Memphis, Tennessee at 22.6. We came in at 22.2. So really, we're up there, right? Literally. And so I really appreciate the openness to take those things seriously, talk openly about them without some kind of assault on, the people we love so much, but rather an honest discourse about what that skills gap means for potential and prospective employers, wanting to relocate here or continue to invest and expand in Kern. So this is huge, and I know that our friends in the private sector are so grateful that government has taken this by the reins and is saying this is our issue. We can own it and we can improve it, and you're showing that. So Dave, hats off as usual. You're one of my heroes, and I really appreciate what you've done to teach me about this. And I'm so excited, Teresa, under your leadership. We're really moving and shaking. We're shaking and I'm getting old. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Perez. During my State of the County speech that I make every year, the chairman does the State of the County speeches at the first of the year, we talked about the disconnected youth rate that's so alarmingly high here in Kern County. And, it's certainly, I would say, I don't think it's a stretch to say it's crisis proportions as far as how high that percentage is and how imperative it is for us to do something about it. And, during those State of the County speeches, we often highlight all the great things that are going on throughout the county, different kinds of initiatives and programs and ways in which the private sector and government have partnered. But I think that largely is the only time that we're really having that dialogue as far as the board is concerned. And I think we could probably do something to change that. A thread that we've seen throughout the morning has talked about workforce challenges, education, the need to promote STEM education. And yesterday I toured the Fab Lab at CSUB. It's Fab, short for fabrication. Some awesome things that they're doing there. I had no idea their engineering department had grown so large. And I think it's like 350 students. Like all of their growth that they've seen over the course of the last few years has really been in the engineering department that they have. About a month ago or so, some folks from Kern Citizens for Sustainable Government's board came and talked to me, and then I brought in our CAO, Ryan Alsop, to talk about this Board of Supervisors, perhaps on a monthly basis, providing a forum for different education initiatives throughout the county to have an opportunity to make a presentation. So we, with our ability to reach people through KGov and the fact that we are the only body that represents the whole county, even though education isn't our jurisdiction per se, all the things that we see that challenge us as a county, many of them come from gaps in education and the needs that we have to fill there as a community. So I'd like to propose that to the board. I see Mr. Agblog, he made his way down. I think that indicates that he might have something to say about this. So I'll ask you to come on forward here, Romeo. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, honorable members of the board, county staff. First of all, on behalf of Kern Citizens for Sustainable Government, we want to congratulate all the partners who are standing behind me for all their hard work, all their effort in establishing this center at the Beale. This is a great model of collaborative partnership that can be replicated in other places, and it's wonderful to see so many people working together towards a common goal as opposed to working independently. So I want to congratulate them on behalf of Kern Citizens, but also to your point, Chairman Scrivener, we're in support of a staff referral to bring an item before the board, whether it's on a monthly basis or every other week or what have you, regarding education and the workforce. We know that as a county board, you're tasked with making difficult decisions and establishing the vision for Kern County. And I think it's an important tool to have very keen understanding of the educational resources that you have available to you and the citizens here in Kern County. So as you promote Kern County to others to draw investment into our area, we think that this would be a very valuable tool. And so with that, we would support a referral if there were one to be made.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar. I would like to make that referral, and in discussions with Mr. Alsop, we felt that the ETR would be the best department to bring those items forward, just obviously for the tie between education and job training and job readiness. So, Ms. Hitchcock, any thoughts on you taking this on if the board so chooses to make this referral? And I would like to ask that we do.
Chairman Scrivener, members of the board, we'd be honored to do that. There are a lot of folks who are really working hard throughout the county to ensure that we're upskilling our workforce. So I think it would be a pleasure to highlight some of those ongoing efforts.
Thank you. Mr. Alsop, any thoughts from you?
I think it's a great idea, and we're happy to facilitate that through ETR and do it on a monthly, bring it back before your board one time each month going forward.
Any thoughts from board members? Supervisor Perez?
Oh, this is extremely exciting, Teresa. We've been talking about these issues for a long time. And I'd like to say the study that we referenced earlier of the 98 largest metropolitan areas did not include in that study rural parts of counties or jurisdictions. So if we were to incorporate the challenges we see of basic transportation from Mojave, far eastern Kern, Taft, and all throughout this enormous county geographically, we would be at the top of the list with the most literally unprepared workforce to compete with. We know what's coming online. So this is so exciting because we know if we can close that skills gap, we already have one of the most desirous workforces because of our loyalty, because of our stability regionally, and great values, great family values, great values of patriotism. We have all the goods. But we've got to close that skills gap or we simply can't compete. And we're graduating a whole host of people by the hundreds of thousands that are not equipped to evolve with an ever-changing economy that's increasingly globalized and mechanized. So this is so exciting. I'm really beside myself. And whatever I can do to be helpful with my resources and time, I'm all in. So thank you. It's an excellent referral and an idea, Chairman. Thank you.
Is that a motion?
Yes, a passionate one.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Perez. Supervisor Gleason.
Thanks. I chimed in because one of the reasons to make that motion, but you beat me to the punch. Was a good thing. Glad you did. Interesting, the past two presentations about the East Kern economic development, what we're doing here, and how they merge together some way. I also went to the Fab Lab a couple weeks ago to get a tour, and what I was thinking during the previous presentation is getting the world of academia more, not just Saracoso Community College, but CSUB, Bakersfield College, getting our whole academic profile involved in everything we're doing. So I wanted to echo what Supervisor Perez said and make the motion, and I look forward to seeing collaboration and a focused effort to make things better for all of us. It's a great deal. Thanks.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the referral to staff in regards to a presentation. We'll say monthly, and we'll see how it goes from there. I don't see any other supervisors that have punched in, so we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes to make that referral.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And under this item, it was just here presentation. So Madam Clerk, it doesn't say that we need a motion to receive and file. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Truly appreciate your participation and your testimony and everything that you have done on that project. And so then Ms. Apple is not going anywhere. Our next item is item 23 under Library, and this is a report on the Summer Reading Challenge and free summer lunches for children aged 2 through 18 years at the 4 participating Kern County Libraries.
Yes,
Ms.
and
Apple,
it's
please.
very fitting with everything that we're talking about this morning. We do have 6 libraries out in East Kern, so keep that in mind as you guys move forward with that effort. We also are doing maker spaces, especially at the Beale. We'd like to bring that out to East Kern and other libraries. So we will begin with what I'm really here for today. So good morning, Chairman Scrivener and members of the board. I'm delighted to report to the board this morning the library's successful 2017 Summer Reading Challenge and Summer Lunch efforts. To get into the spirit, we'll start off by showing a video that the library created of our super successful guest reader push. The guest reader push all started with me asking Mr. Alsop if he would be willing to be a guest, to do a guest reader spot at the Beale Library, and he said absolutely, enthusiastically, I might add. Mr. Alsop encouraged department heads to participate in the library's guest reader program at one of our department head meetings. So we started to schedule the meetings with the willing department heads willing to read in front of the kids. Then other county staff started to hear about this guest reader effort and started to ask if they could read. And then the community leader started asking, oh, hey, can we read? And so it grew and grew and grew into this huge effort, and it totally snowballed into this very successful effort that we had. So with Mr. Alsop's endorsement and the power of word-of-mouth publicity and social media, we had a very successful program. So I was asked a question, though, over the summer on Facebook about this guest reader program, and this one mother asked me, well, is it the parents that are being pulled, or is it the kids that are being pulled to the guest readers? So I had to think about that for a moment, and my answer was that it's both. Sometimes the kids knew who our guest readers were, sometimes they didn't, sometimes the parents knew, sometimes they didn't. But to me, the effect was twofold. Kids have an early introduction to what active and participatory government looks like, as well as our government and community readers seeing an active, participatory, and responsive public library system. So the kids having fun was just a bonus. So let's watch our county and community leaders, we'll watch the video now, reading to little ones in your public library. We had some budding stars in that reading effort, by the way, county leaders. Okay, so we have to ask ourselves in Kern County, we've been talking about it this morning, what could happen when students are engaged with reading over the summer months? Can we defy the odds and avoid the summer slide and increase reading proficiency in local students? Well, we can, and we do, and the Kern County Library plays a role every summer in our 24 branch libraries by connecting young learners and students to their community through books, reading, and a variety of learning activities. Our Kern County Libraries are creating summer reading programs that are triggering curiosity in our local students and challenging them to read more during the summer months. Summer vacation can bring challenges for children living in underserved communities with reduced access to healthy food, learning enrichment programs, and safe communal spaces. These children often struggle to have their basic needs met during the summer months. How many Kern County kids qualify for a free or reduced lunch? I don't know if you guys know this, but 71%, and it's pretty high. I think the California state average is in the 50s. So 71% of our Kern County students qualify for free or reduced lunches. So it's a big number, children under 18 and under who are living at or below the poverty level. So what happens to these kids during the summer months when they no longer have access to school lunches? Well, libraries are a natural space for serving meals to children whose lunch access disappears and an opportunity to combine reading activities and help curb summer reading loss in children. Children who are well-nourished are more likely to have cognitive advantages over children with deficits in nutrition. So lunch at the library is a wonderful opportunity for children, teens, and their parents to become better acquainted with the library, have a safe, open summer space, and gain access to nutritional food. It's an opportunity to nourish bodies and minds in an equal opportunity, equal access space. And I don't know if you know this, but the library, we don't have, quotas that people have to meet sometimes at the school. So everybody's open and welcome to come. We don't know what their income level is. They're just allowed to come. Since many lunch sites nationwide encounter a major barrier through a lack of activities and programming, libraries offer an abundance of programming during the summer already, and we help to fill that gap. So the New York Times took notice of public libraries offering summer lunches across the country and began to look into the reasons why. Why are public libraries becoming that space to connect kids with healthy meals and reading enrichment programs during the summer months? So what precipitated this effort? The New York journalist recognized the California statewide efforts in making headway with public libraries adopting the summer lunch effort. So when the journalist called the California State Institute for Local Government, an agency that's spearheading the summer lunch effort in public libraries throughout the state, through their Summer Meal Coalition, pointed the journalist to Kern County Library. So the little old Kern County Library, out of all of the public library jurisdictions, and I think there's over 100, pointed them to us. So Patrice Chamberlain from the Institute for Local Government recognized Kern County's efforts in making a difference in our county by providing lunches to summer learning activities. We have some of the highest numbers of meals served across the state, the highest number of programs offered, and the amount of people that are attending our summer reading and summer lunch events in statistics across the state. We beat Fresno Public Library, and they have 3 times the staff and 3 times the budget, by the way. But we beat them pretty much every year. KCL staffers are a scrappy group of county employees determined to make a difference in our communities despite the many uphill battles that come our way. And it thrills me that their efforts are being recognized on the state and national levels, and I'm very proud of our progress and the community impact as a county department. So here are some statistics about the number of meals served in the last 4 years. So it demonstrates the success that we've had in our 4 short years of providing summer lunches. We started at the Beale in 2014, mainly because that's where I was and this was my grand idea. Plus it was just me and one other staffer, Jasmine, who happens to be over there. It was just us 2 that first summer, and we literally were responsible for carrying everything out, like mopping, sweeping, sanitizing, marketing, media circuit, social media, community partners, programming, so it was just us 2. Well, whatever needed to be done, we wanted to make it a success, and I was bound determined to do whatever that took. And we had no idea what to expect. Would people actually show up? Would they come? This was a new effort, so I had no idea if someone would come to the library to eat lunch and do summer reading. So I asked myself, did I do enough publicity? All these questions were running through my head, and we only had 3 weeks of lead time, by the way. So it was first week of May that we found out that we were going to be a lunch site. So we didn't have much prep time. And so keep in mind that we had nothing to compare ourselves to. So this push was new across the state in public libraries, and only a handful of pilot libraries the year before started. So I had nothing to compare it to. I didn't know what success looked like. I didn't know what failure looked like. I just knew that we had to do our best. And so it wasn't until after the summer of 2014 when summer reading and summer lunch ended and we turned our stats into the state, hoping and praying that we did okay, that we weren't a disappointment at all. Actually, we were outstanding. And they started to use us as an example, and we started to be invited to national and state conferences to speak of what's worked for us. You know, they borrowed our publicity and our social media messages and our flyers and our programs and our partnerships, and so we've become one of their great examples at the state level and encouraging other library districts to get on board, and that providing lunches is not a scary thing. So as you can see, KCL has increased the amount of kids accessing healthy lunches during the summer. We also increased our sites from just one, Beale at the beginning, to McFarland, Arvin, and Fraser. And we're continually reaching out to the school districts across the county to partner in the summer lunch effort. By partnering with school districts to carry out summer lunch in public libraries, it allows us to leverage the novelty of offering food in the library, which is actually a big deal to some of the kids. Helping raise awareness about food insecurity and curb summer learning loss in students. So my hope is that we'll add at least one new site next year, maybe two. This past summer, our lunch sites, we had over 15 teens that pretty much they showed up every single day at one of our 4 lunch sites to volunteer their time with the summer lunch effort, and they donated over 200 hours to assist with learning activities, garbage duty, I no longer have to do garbage duty, table and chair sanitation. So these kids were really wonderful to work with. They enjoyed their time working with the families that we serve. And KCL's summer lunch and reading efforts provide an outlet for teens and adults looking for a meaningful volunteer opportunity, and one that impacts our communities. Often the teens and adults who volunteer become incredibly invested in our summer reading efforts and summer lunch efforts, that they become program leaders and start carrying out programs, and they become library supporters. So responsible and well-trained volunteers are integral to a successful and sustainable summer lunch program. So public libraries have been offering summer reading, of course, for decades, and it's always been a very popular destination in the summer. And since summer 2017 was our most successful summer yet, our summer reading challenge includes a variety of activities that engage people who have different learning styles and interests. Our activities are designed with specific learning objectives in mind and encourage this self-directed learning, discovery, and creativity. We are of the belief that all reading is good reading, and we encourage each person to set and meet their own individual reading and literacy goals. Most of our events and activities extend the reading experience through connecting people to a rich and a diverse collection of reading materials in a variety of formats. As you can see, we had a lot going on. I won't read it, you can see it. So this past summer, we offered the most events ever. I think when I came here in May or June, I told you we had 1,800. Well, it increased to about 2,200 events over the summer. And the public is responding by attending and participating in our learning activities. So in 2013, KCL offered about 550 programs. That's when I started taking over the summer reading effort countywide. And compare that number now to 2017 with over 2,200. And so you're probably asking yourself, how did we accomplish that? Well, I've implored staff to be responsive to their individual communities and to design and develop more STEM and STEAM, early learning, technology, craft and digital spaces and events for all ages. And this is what the community is asking for, and they are showing up. I've encouraged the staff to take risks, try new activities, find new partnerships, seek new avenues for local publicity, and they've responded in providing more events because they know that summer learning and reading is critical, especially here in Kern County, with issues in literacy, reading comprehension, and language development. Library staff have successfully created summer opportunities for youth to learn the skills, to gain confidence, and to help build a community spirit of active learners, which I think is what we discussed this morning. So this past summer, we had over 48,000 people in 2 months walk through our doors and attend summer reading events across our county. And over the past 5 years, you can see how much we've increased our attendance by 142%. The Kern County Library will continue to challenge kids and teens to read and participate in our educational activities every summer because we are making an impact with keeping kids engaged and learning over the summer months, which better prepares them to return to school in the fall. We are making a difference, and we are investing in our county's workforce, and summer 2017 demonstrated the success of your county library department. Thank you. Any questions?
That was fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Apple.
You're welcome.
Any comments or questions from the board? Supervisor Gleason.
I just want to pass my congrats off to you and all the work you and your staff are doing to bring the community into the library. It's not going unnoticed.
Thank you.
The improvements you're making to our library system. You're doing a great job.
The staff are too.
Yes.
They're doing wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Are there any comments from members of the audience on this item? Okay, seeing
Thank
none.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Apple. Fantastic job. The next requested action is to receive and file. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Excuse me, the motion is approved, all ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we are going to shift gears dramatically on subject matter this morning. And the last item on our agenda is item 24 under Public Health Services. And so I'll ask Mr. Constantine to tee this item up when he's ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm joined by Bryn Kerrigan, the Assistant Director of Public Health. The item before you was brought originally to your board 5 weeks ago on July 18th, and we established today to hold a public hearing on the adoption of an ordinance that would regulate massage establishments within the unincorporated area of the county. The proposed changes before you would strengthen the existing requirements, would require all massage establishments to obtain an annual permit from Public Health, and require each establishment to be routinely inspected. At the March 7th, 2017 board meeting, you received a complaint from Miss Lisa Woods from Oildale. She's an Oildale business owner complaining about a massage facility adjacent to her business that was likely engaging in prostitution. At the request at that time from Supervisor Maggard, the department began to evaluate the statements made at the board meeting and research how other jurisdictions were addressing the concerns. The department has met with Ms. Woods and another business owner who have strong concerns. We have met with detectives at the Bakersfield Police Department, reviewed their recent findings of prostitution and enforcement actions that they have taken, and we have spoken with many other California jurisdictions about how they approach massage facilities, and we have evaluated their ordinances. In addition, as we spoke about at our previous board meeting, we were referred to a fee-based website by several different counties where they are posting reviews about sexual acts occurring in our local Kern County massage establishments. For these reasons, the Kern County Department of Public Health has requested that your board consider substantial changes to the Kern County Ordinance Code relating to the regulation of massage establishments. It's also important to note that there is currently an old massage ordinance on the books. However, the ordinance is no longer in compliance with state law, as state law has been amended several times, and the county's ordinance does not align with the City of Bakersfield ordinance, which causes some confusion and some consistency issues with enforcement. I'd like to ask Bryn if she would summarize for us the ordinance it's in front of you, and also summarize some of the testimony received on July 18th.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bryn Kerrigan, Assistant Director, Kern County Public Health Services. On July 18th, we made a thorough presentation to your board on the proposed changes and have set aside today to receive any additional comments on the proposed changes. In summary, the proposed ordinance will require massage practitioners operating within Kern County to obtain their massage practitioner certification through the California Massage Therapy Council, or CAMTC. CAMTC was created by the California legislature through the enactment of Senate Bill 731 with the purpose of certifying massage therapy professionals consistently throughout the state, making massage practitioners easy to identify, ensuring practitioners meet specific educational criteria, and enforcing regulations on massage therapy professionals. Additionally, the proposed ordinance will allow our department to regulate massage establishments to ensure they maintain a safe and sanitary environment and to establish reasonable standards to reduce opportunities for acts of prostitution and human trafficking. The proposed ordinance requires owners of massage establishments to apply for a permit through the Kern County Public Health Services Department, including obtaining a background check if they are not CAMTC certified massage therapists, and ensuring the establishment meets the minimum requirements of Kern County Building Code. The department will provide an educational class to the owner and the staff of the massage establishment, reviewing the requirements of the ordinance to ensure practitioners and business owners are thoroughly informed of our local regulations. The department will conduct an annual inspection of each permitted establishment to ensure compliance with the ordinance and will partner with Kern County Sheriff's Office to investigate all complaints and reports of prostitution and/or human trafficking activities in massage establishments. A permit fee is required to reimburse the county for the cost of this program. The department will need to hire an additional staff member to perform the tasks required of this program. The annual cost of this position, including benefits, is $100,000. Additionally, this fee will need to reimburse the Kern County Sheriff for the costs incurred for collecting live scan fingerprints and investigating complaints related to prostitution and/or human trafficking. It is estimated that half of the complaints would be founded, and the establishment would be billed for the actual costs incurred by the sheriff in these instances. It is estimated that the unreimbursed costs for the sheriff will be $20,000. Given the annual estimated unreimbursed costs for this program are $120,000, and there are approximately 75 massage establishments within the unincorporated areas of Kern County, the required annual permit fee to fully reimburse the cost of this program is $1,600. As your board may recall, on June 18, 2017, during our request to set a hearing for this item, 2 local business owners presented their concerns with alleged prostitution acts occurring in local massage establishments. These 2 business owners are here today in the audience and available to answer questions your board may have for them. Additionally, on July 18th, your board also received a report from City of Bakersfield Police Department Detective Glenn Phippen. Detective Phippen reported that the Bakersfield Police Department performs between 4 and 5 undercover operations in massage establishments within City of Bakersfield each month. Of these undercover operations, 90% result in arrests related to prostitution violations. Detective Phippen also reported that massage establishments have moved into the unincorporated areas of the county because of regulation and enforcement that they face within the City of Bakersfield. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, that concludes our portion of this presentation. We are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Kerrigan. I'll ask if any members of the board have any comments or questions before I go to the public. Okay, seeing none, I'll ask if there's any member of the public that would like to make comment on item 24. Good morning.
Good morning, Supervisor Scribner and the board. My name is Brian Walters. I am a resident of District 3. My wife is a CMT, a certified massage therapist, and she owns a business in the city of Bakersfield. I'm here because she speaks Mandarin. She can't address the board herself. So I'm here not as a county employee, but as a private citizen today. My wife is in support of the idea of raising the requirement that people giving massage have a state-issued license, so we're in agreement with that portion of the proposal. We're in agreement with the education requirement. Basically, we're in agreement with the entire proposal. What we're not in agreement with is burdening legitimate massage business owners with a $1,600 fee when it's going to benefit people like the people who don't want prostitution going on next to their business. There's just a disparity. If you want to increase enforcement and add a public health officer to combat this problem, which, by the way, is not limited to massage establishments. You know, I know that there was mention of, I can't remember if it was Rub Maps or Backpage or Craigslist. There are sites all over the internet where prostitution is occurring, and it's not all at massage establishments. This is a county-wide problem, and when you get into sex trafficking, you know, I think most of the board has probably seen Ms. Henry's article discussing the connection between runaway teens and child sex trafficking. So this is a big problem, and massage establishments are not the root of the problem. They're merely an association. So I would like you to come up with a funding mechanism that does not punish legitimate business owners and spread this through some other funding mechanism. That's my only comment, and I otherwise support the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Anyone else from the public?
Good morning, Chairman, board members. My name is Christopher Vaughn, and the gentleman made a good statement for the individual. I do understand the aspect of the cost. If you break that down to $125 a month to make sure that your industry is clean, that you have a safe working environment, and that the general public is aware that we're operating within guidelines, I think that's a very minimal cost. If you work out of your home, for example, you don't pay rent. You don't have to deal with any type of regulations other than opening your doors and completing a task and getting paid. With taxes, with the board, with my fire extinguishers, with all types of visits from the fire department that will make sure I'm operating safely. They all come in my business. It's all part of doing business in the county. I operate a barbershop in the county because it's cost effective. There are points now when he made that I don't pay that licensing fee, and he is correct. And I would have no problem paying a licensing fee if it'd be enforced. That just says that there's a group of people that are operating honestly and they're operating cleanly in our county. And I don't see any problem with that. I have no problem paying a fee. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's supportive. Our sheriff is in support of it, and I'd really like to see this happen. It's not going to benefit me as a business owner. It's going to benefit my community. We need to get ahead of the game and clean it up. And I just beg that you vote yes on this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Any other comments?
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Board. Gosh, I'm always so nervous when I come up here. I don't know if y'all remember me. My name is Lisa Woods. I came here several months ago with a plea to all of you to clean up our area of Oildale. We had 3 plagues, and that was the illegitimate massage parlors, the internet casinos, and the marijuana dispensaries. But the matter today is the massage parlors. And I do agree with the gentleman earlier as well. Being a business owner, we have our annual fees as well. I have to go through the health department, alcohol beverage control. I do have a salon 2 doors down. I have to pay my annual fee as well. It's just part of being a business owner. I just want you to really consider this ordinance. I think it would be an amazing way to clean up our community. There's a lot of things that we can't clean up. I mean, Oildale is a pretty downgraded little place, but it is an amazing community, and we're all pulling together to try to save it. We just need help, and I never realized, that it would come to this, but I mean, my goal that day was a plea, and now today it's a mission. I want to get our area cleaned up at any cost of whatever it takes. Our kids deserve it. I mean, I want my grandkids to walk home from school and feel safe. I want my grandkids, there's a lot of things in Oildale that we can't change, but there's a lot of things that we can, and this is one of them. And I'd appreciate you really to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So I don't see any other requests to speak, and so I'll close the public hearing and return to the board. Supervisor Gleason.
Motion on staff's recommendation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. I see Supervisor Maggard has punched in. Supervisor Maggard, please.
A little slow on the pushing the button, so I'm happy to support it. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your diligence to work with us, and I look forward to making a difference. It is unthinkable to me that we would not try to regulate an industry. The benefit does not go just to those who don't want to have massage parlors next to them. Prostitution is a plague that is undermining the fabric of our community and our society, and it's going on where we get our gas, where we get our haircut, where we get our clothes cleaned, and where we buy food in restaurants. So I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Constantine, Ms. Kerrigan, thank you for your efforts.
Good job.
And thank you to the members of the public who came to speak and have been tracking this issue for quite some time. That brings us, excuse me, that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda this morning. We do have 2 items to consider in closed session. We have item 30 under the County Administrative Office and item 31 under County Council. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn a closed session. We have a motion. We are adjourned.